Video games have been labeled for a long time as a dangerous and harmful pastime that causes addiction and violence. Nonetheless, many scientific studies have shown that, on the contrary, some genres of video games play a key role in preventing degenerative diseases, including Alzheimer's. In a time in which the interaction with machines was becoming a more and more possible reality, the first video game was developed, even though defining it as an electronic game would be more appropriate. In 1952, indeed, OXO, that simulated a game of tic-tac-toe, was created. Video games were not created to entertain, but to give the demonstration that humans and machines could interact with each other. For this reason, the actual golden age of video games arrived only in the late 80s, after the release of Space Invaders by Titolo. Video games have evolved over the years, and they have been classified in many genres: action, adventure, puzzle, strategy, role-playing or RPG, sports, music, simulation, education, and adult. Together with video game genres, many console generations have succeeded one another, and each one of them has been designed to adapt both on the technological progress and on the user's needs. The gaming industry has gained more and more prestige over the years. For this reason, in order to make their products as enjoyable as possible, software houses have started to localize more or less completely their products in many languages. The Italian gaming market is based mainly on video games which were conceived in English, so it is very difficult to find products that did not undergo the many modifications made by the localization process. To this end, some video games are just translated, and many others, on the other end, are also localized and adapted. There is a difference between these two processes, as translation is often more immediate compared to adaptation, and it is made for all the character strings that include up to 5 words. This is the case, for instance, of menus, alerts, or the graphical user interface. Adaptation is made for longer texts that can be either written text or dialogues. In the latter case, we talk about voice-over adaptation. The localization team has to make the text enjoyable for the audience that would be listening to the words and not simply reading them. Nonetheless, there are also some cases in which no Italian adaptation is needed, other cases in which it is partial, and others where there is no adaptation at all. For instance, adaptation plays a marginal role in sports video games, as real-life commentators are asked to dub the video game's commentator. This is because commentators are particularly good at interesting gamers with their sentences or expressions that are often emblematic. In this way, they make players feel much closer to the video game. For what concerns the Italian gaming market, there are many examples of video games which are adapted only partially. This implies that only texts are translated or localized in many languages, while voiceover is limited only to one or several languages. The video games by Rockstar Games, an extremely popular software house for the series of Grand Theft Auto, better known as GTA, are peculiar in this sense. Absent localization, on the other hand, does not include neither a translation nor text and dialogue localization. This is especially the case of niche video games, as most non-English speaking players perceive this absence as a limitation, and they are not willing to make the effort of translating into their native language. The series of Yakuza, developed by the Japanese software house Sega, is an example to this end. Each chapter, but the less, includes texts which have been translated only in English, while the voiceover is available only in the Japanese language.